morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today it's time to finish off having a look at Glory of Team Rocket. I've showed you all the Rocket cards. I've showed you a lot of cards from this set. What I've not yet shown you is the last remaining Pokemon that are worth a look. So let's have a look at the last remaining Pokemon that are worth a look. And let's start off with Arboliva EX. This is the last EX in the set, and I still find it weird that we got a 5-3 split. There are 5 Team Rocket Pokemon in the set and 3 regular. I was expecting we'd be like battle partners and go for a 4-4 split. 4 trainers EXs, 4 regular EXs. That is not the case. So this is the last regular EX in the set. Well, the last one we've talked about as a whole, honestly. Is it actually any good? Because it's a stage 2, and general rule is stage 2's little bit awkward. What about this one? Well, with it being Arboliva, the HP is not particularly impressive, I'm sorry, 310. And what we've got is, well, for free colorless energy, 160, and it recovers from all special conditions. Not particularly impressive, if I may say so. Not worth evolving up into a stage 2 to get. However, the other attack is quite a bit better. What you do is you choose one of your opponent's Pokemon 6 times, but you could choose the same one 6 times, or you could choose 6 different ones 1 time each, or, 3 of them 2 times each, or 1-3, 1-2, 1-1, etc. It doesn't matter. They are 6 completely separate choosings, each of which can be directed at any of your opponent's Pokemon. And for each one you choose, you deal 20 damage. So basically, you're spreading 120 around your opponent's board, but you can spread it around anywhere you like in multiples of 2. It's alright. And certainly there are going to be times you can use this to kind of KO a bench Pokemon while putting damage somewhere else, which is quite nice. Of course, this is like, the classic kind of perfect attack. If you can use Gusting to strand something in the active, then this is actually phenomenal. Because then, of course, what you can do is just start directing the damage around, picking off their bench Pokemon, never hitting the active, but also making sure you KO them as late as possible, so you're not doing stuff like freeing up bench spaces and all of that. If you can get something trapped in the active, this is like legitimately brilliant and I love it. Otherwise, it's 120 for a single energy on a stage 2 multi-prizer, and that's not necessarily terrible, but it's also not actually particularly good. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I do feel like this is destined to be an underwhelming EX that doesn't see a huge amount of play, but I'm open to it. I would like to be wrong. Because seriously, if you can get something trapped in the active, but it's not just Arboliva EX we have coming in here. We have a bunch of other Pokemon as well, including not 1, not 2, but 3 Rotom. We got Mo Rotom, Heat Rotom, and Wash Rotom. Now, they've all got pretty bad first attacks. Sorry about that. Now, to be fair, Mo Rotom single energy, 20 damage plus discard a stadium in play. That was quite good for getting rid of stadiums, obviously. But then Heat Rotom is single energy and all it does is burn. And then we've got Wash Rotom that's single energy, 20 damage, and it heals 10 damage from each of your Pokemon. Which is, at least it heals all of them and not just itself. It's not being selfish here. But we're not playing this for the first attacks, not any of them. What we do have, though, for 2 energy on any of the 3, this attack does 30 damage for each Pokemon tool attached to all of your Pokemon. Okay. Now we're kind of talking. I can get on board with this. Obviously, let's not forget, we've still got the Rev of Room that came around in Obsidian Flames that can have up to 4 Pokemon tools. So that's kind of cool. So you can basically use that to get a bit of extra damage down and potentially playing around with Rev of Room and then getting tools on all of your Pokemon. You can get this up to pretty decent damage, but we've had this before. we've had a bunch of these attacks in recent memory. And look, I know Tool Drop Trubbish worked. I am well aware of this. I know that Tool Drop Trubbish was a legit deck. It wasn't ever like, the absolute best deck in the format, but it was still there. Tool Drop Trubbish was a relevant, viable deck. All right? That was a thing. That happened. I didn't imagine it. That's the only one that's actually worked. So, yeah. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. We got Pachirisu back in Brilliant Stars. That did nothing. So, I hate to say it, especially with no double colorless energy around right now either. That's just not the card we've got right now. So, even paying the attack cost becomes a little bit more awkward. So, yeah. Sorry. I'd love to see it work. Love Rotom, love Tool Drop and all of that. Don't think it is going to work. One that really interests me is Lurantis. We got a single grass energy, 130 damage, but you have to discard 2 basic grass energy from your hand. And if you cannot discard 2 basic grass energy from your hand, this attack fails. Yeah. And look, I don't know if this is ever actually going to end up working because it's very awkward. But we know Energy Recycle is coming back. So we've got ways to get lots of energy back into our deck. And if you can get this working, if you can cycle this to get the energy, single energy 130 on a stage 1 Pokemon, and this is my jam. This is the kind of deck that I'm usually fighting, to be fair. But these are the kind of decks I've been playing for many, many years. But also, by the same token, you have to keep discarding 2 grass energy from your hand. That is going to be a little bit annoying. Unless we can find a Pokemon that does damage based on the amount of energy we've got in our discard pile. Then it could be good. Hi, Ceruledge. I'm not saying this with Ceruledge is going to become amazing. What I am saying is being able to hit 130 while aggressively getting energy in your discard pile in the early game and then transitioning into Ceruledge for a big finish could be fun. I like it. It's something I've got my eye on. Now, Arcanine, I don't actually think is good, but I want to tell you about it because it's got an interesting attack. 3 energy, 100 damage, but if your opponent's active Pokemon is a Darkness Pokemon, it does 200 instead. Basically, it's here as an anti-Team Rocket Pokemon, because a lot of the Team Rocket Pokemon are Darkness, but you're only doing 200. So you're not doing enough to kind of KO all of those pesky EXs. So I don't think it's actually good. I don't think it's actually going to work. And I think it's going to go down in the long run as being maybe just a wee bit disappointing. But I kind of really enjoy the fact that they've got this whole set of a bunch of Team Rocket Pokemon. And while they're in the middle of giving us these Team Rocket Pokemon, they're like, hey, maybe we give a little bit of a counter Pokemon as well. That seems kind of fun. Now, Abomasnow's another one which I don't think has got that much potential, but I want to mention it anyway, because we've got 3 water, 1 colorless energy, 120, but if they've got an extra 2 grass energy attached, you do 240. 240 for a single prize Pokemon is very, very good, but in order to pull that off, you need 3 water and 2 grass, and I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that's a lot to ask. It's probably not going to work. Sorry. Never mind, eh? Now, the new promo pass is one that interests me very much indeed, because it's all colorless energy. It's a fighting Pokemon, but it's all colorless energy. 70 damage, and if there is a stadium in play, you do 140. Now, it's a little bit awkward, because even 140 I don't really actually like. But this is one of those where if you want a Pokemon that hits fighting weakness, but you don't want to play fighting energy, sure, it's free energy, but it's not horrendous. But it's a fighting Pokemon that attaches for all colorless energy. Playing stadiums most decks are going to be doing anyway. and then you get to do decent damage, which with weakness turns into good damage on a single prize stage 1. I kind of like this. Again, this is a very specific card. This is not an every deck card or anything like that. No. This is very much a, if you want to hit fighting weakness to counter a particular Pokemon, but you don't want to actually play any fighting energy, that is when this card actually becomes potentially pretty good. And then finally, we've got ourselves Medicham. Medicham here, we've got single energy, and if you've got the same number of energy as your opponent's active Pokemon, you deal 170. Again, this is another Pokemon that becomes a lot better if you are hitting a fighting weakness, but if you're against a single energy Pokemon, you do 170. Or if they've got 2 energy, you can put a second energy on and then go ahead and do that as well. We're talking again about a situational card, but that's kind of the point here. We're generally talking about more situational cards, but this is another one I could see being kind of fun. So there we go. I've had a good look through the set list, and I really do think these are the last cards you need to know about. So now it's over to you guys. Which one of these do you think could be good? Which one of these do you see some potential in? Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at Lawasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.